Alright, so here is going to be the video for our week 4 of our ULA activities. So starting out with number 1, they're wanting you to solve the system of equations through using that graph. So basically when you're trying to solve a system of equations, you're wanting to find out when x and y are the same, right? For both equations. So that would be wherever they both meet, because that means both of them have these values for x and y. So what is that point? Well, we count it here. Our x is how many over? We go -1, and we go up 2. So -1. There is your answer for number 1. Number 2 is similar to number 1. They're wanting you to solve the system of equations through graphing. However, you will be doing the graphing. So we're going to first graph the first equation, and then we'll graph the second, and then from there we'll see where they intersect. So for this first one, for a y-intercept right here, when x is 0, that means y would be 3, right? So it would be y-intercept of 0, 3. So 0, 3, 1, 2, 3. Here's our point. Now I'm going to use the slope kind of idea. This slope is basically 1 over 1. So I see that as 1 up, 1 over, and you can do 1 down and 1 back. So basically you're going to get this line that's going 1 up, 1 up and 1 over. So we're going to use, I'm going to use this ruler to make sure it's as straight as it can be, just to minimize the mistakes here. It's a little slanted. There we go. That's kind of basically what we're getting here, right? And then our second equation, right? That is going to be a y-intercept of 0, -3, right? Because when x is 0, y is -3. So we have a 0, -3 starts here. And the slope is a -2 over 1. So basically that could be seen as 2 down and 1 over. Or, since you're going the opposite direction, it'd be 2 up and 1 back. So that's when you get to this kind of line of a slope of -2. So we're going to try to get as close as we can. Sometimes it gets a little wonky, but on your test you'll have like an exact line when you just find 2 points. So something like this. But basically, or the main point is where do they intersect, right? And they intersect right here at -2, 1. So your answer for here would be -2. So yeah, that's basically what they're wanting for 1 and 2, is to solve a system of equations using a graph. So basically graphing those lines. Alright, so for number 3, you're going to determine the following system of equations has no solutions, 1 solution, or infinitely many solutions. So we can kind of go down the order here. So for no solutions would mean that when you solve these, the answer you would get would be something like 2 equals 0, or something that doesn't make sense. 1 solution is something where you're going to get where your x equals something or your y equals something. And for infinitely many solutions, you're going to get something that looks like 0 equals 0, or something where these equations look exactly the same. So we're going to start solving these equations, and then from there we'll kind of get to where if it's no solution, 1 solution, or infinitely many. So here for these two, I'm going to focus on trying to get rid of that x side. So by doing that with our first step, we can just multiply that top one by 3, which is where I'm going to work it on the bottom. So it gives us -9x plus 3y equals -6. So now we're going to add these two equations, and we should get a 0 plus 0 equals 0. And that basically comes to 0 equals 0, which gives us infinitely many solutions. Alright, so number 4, find the solution of system equation. So again, same thing here. Something I see here, we can just immediately multiply this by -1. Gives us -3x plus y equals -19. And from there, these cross out, then leaves you a -3y equals -24. Divided by -3, y equals 8. So now we know what y is. Now let's find what our x is. So let's plug this in. So we have 3x minus our y now is 8 equals 19. Add 8 to both sides. That gives you 3x equals 27. Divided by 3, x equals 9. So that's where we get our solution of 8. Sorry, that's backwards. 9, 8. Sorry about that. Alright, number 5. Number 5, same thing. We're going to try to get rid of one variable. I'm going to do it that way. There's obviously many ways to do this, but I'm going to start it by just multiplying this by just 3. So that gets us a negative, or it gets us a positive 6, so this kind of crosses out when we add. Now focusing on the other parts, we have positive 18y equals a negative 48. When we add these two together, we are getting left with a 15y equals negative 75. Divide by 15 from both sides, get that y by itself, and you get a negative 5. So again, we know what y is. Let's plug it in and figure out what our x. That first equation, 2x plus 6 times our y, which is now negative 5, equals negative 16. This is 2x minus 30 equals negative 16. Then we are going to add 30 to both sides. I'm going to do this kind of work over here. That leaves us a 2x equals 14, which divided by 2 from both sides, x equals 7. So you're left with 7, negative 5. So, moving on to our last two problems. Number 6 and number 7. They're wanting us to solve by substitution, right? So, we're going to substitute this y with this equation. So we have 10x is going to equal 2x minus 16. Subtract 2x from both sides to get that to get all the x on one side. We have 8x equals negative 16. Divide by 8 again to get the x alone. Then you're left with negative 2. Now let's plug it in for that top one. We know x equals negative 2, so 10x is now 10 times negative 2. That leaves you with a y equals negative 20. So that is how you would get the solution of negative 2, negative 20. Alright, finally for number 7, substitution again. They're telling you right now what y is, so let's plug that in. So we have 5x plus 5 times y, which is now 2x, equals negative 15. Now let's simplify this. We still have 5x. 5 times 2x is now 10x, equals negative 15. That leaves us 15x equals negative 15. Divide by 15 from both sides. X equals negative 1. Alright, so from that we know x is negative 1. Let's plug it into this top equation over here. So we have 2x now is 2 times negative 1 equals y. Negative 1 times 2 is negative 2 equals y. So that leaves you with the answer of negative 1, negative 2. Alright, so that is all the work for our activity for number 4. If you have any questions, just let me know.